We are facing an education emergency today. Educationist Rishikesh BS talks of the urgent need to refocus on fundamentals and get children back to school. Since March 2020, there has been a sea change in the teaching learning process. The chalk and blackboard have been replaced with computer screens or mobile phones, and online classes have become the norm. This has, however, created a huge digital divide, denying many students access to education. Rishikesh BS, who leads the Hub for Education, Law and Policy at Azim Premji University, says remote schooling has severely impacted students from disadvantaged and vulnerable backgrounds, saving on several government advisory committees formed to chalk out an education map and also implement the new education policy. The professor talks of the various fallouts of remote schooling. Excerpts from an interview by Tanu Kulkarni. Question 1. What impact will remote schooling have on educational trajectories? Can the internet ever replace physical schooling? Answer. The last 1 year has shown that remote schooling using technology is neither sustainable nor desirable. Meaningful education can't happen remotely, particularly at the school level. A pre pandemic study in the US showed that students in online schools lose between zero point 0.1 and zero point 0.4 STs or standard deviation on standardized tests compared to students in traditional schools. Similar research has emerged from around the world, which indicates that remote schooling has impacted learning negatively. The clear and loud statement is that technology at best can only be an aid, and that too only in a real classroom. Today, every child is a few notches below their potential, and it will take them a long time to compensate this lost time. Question 2. How has it impacted children emotionally and in terms of pedagogy? Answer. Education is a socio human endeavor. Hence, any remote mode snatches away the very core of good education. Children are not just empty vessels to be filled in with content. Schooling is expected to develop a children holistically. It includes social and emotional development plus learning various interlinked concepts across subjects. Learning takes place by engaging with peers facilitated by an adult. Even if internet based live sessions are available, simple acts of learning through engagement don't happen. Despite options such as breakout rooms and sincere efforts by teachers to make session interactive, teaching remains unidirectional with didactic pedagogy the mainstay. Question 3. Some children have become over dependent on gadgets while others have no access to technology. Answer. The most recent study by McKinsey states that learning loss is global and significant, adding that teachers in high poverty schools found virtual classes to be especially ineffective, bolstering concerns that the pandemic has exacerbated educational inequalities. The evidence is clear. Technology can only exacerbate the divide and not bridge it. Data from the NSS or National Sample Survey Office 75th round presents this divide starkly. Less than 5% of rural households have computers. This number barely touches 25% in urban areas. Hence, even among urban dwellers, a vast majority don't have a computer, which means that the only digital access is the mobile phone. To push for digital learning given such ineffective means is an erroneous approach. Meanwhile, children on the other end of the spectrum with full access to technology are being pushed towards too much screen time without any thought for the repercussions this has on their health or the development of social skills. At the end of the day, no child is truly benefiting. Question 4. The dropout rate seems to have increased during the pandemic. Why? Answer. The very fact that child helplines began to receive more calls during the first lockdown was a warning that we didn't take seriously enough. We should recognize that for a large majority of children, school not only provides a learning environment but is also a safety net from the familial and social evils that surround them. Stuck in situations of dire poverty, children are pushed into menial jobs to earn a few extra rupees on force or forced into farm labor. Increased child marriages and child trafficking cases too have been reported from across the country. The continuous school closure has led not only to children dropping out of school but something far worse. Question 5. What can be done to bring students back to school? Answer. The most recent report recommending opening of school comes from the Dr. Devi Prasad Shetty Committee, which uses global evidences as well as guidelines from Indian and American pediatric associations to recommend schools opening wherever the positivity rate is low. In fact, there is no disagreement among experts that schools should be the last to shut down when we begin lockdowns and the first to open during the unlock phase. We are facing an education emergency today, given the sheer numbers and complete absence of schooling for millions since the pandemic began. Centralized decision making won't work. Ideally, Gram Panchayats must take these decisions based on criteria set by state governments or Ministry of Education. Question 6. How do you assess the learning loss since the pandemic? Answer. Some people don't like to call it learning loss as that puts the onus on children. However, the consensus is that we have failed to provide learning opportunities for children. The McKinsey report refers to studies from several countries that suggest school shutdown in the second quarter of 2020 put students up to 6 months behind the academic milestones the cohorts would typically be expected to reach, and that the losses were greater in maths than in reading, and disadvantaged populations experienced more severe setbacks in all subjects. A study by Azim Premji Foundation across 44 districts and 5 states in our country showed similar findings. The bottom line is that the learning loss has been huge, far more than what anyone had anticipated, and it is continuing. If we don't address it now, it will accumulate exponentially. Question 7. What have been the key learnings from the past year and what changes must be made going forward? Answer. Things are slightly different this time around as state governments and respective education departments have had ample time to plan in advance for various scenarios. But whether that will result in changes on the ground is to be seen. In my opinion, the key learnings from the past year that should be used going forward are these. One, there has been very little meaningful and structural learning for over a year, and the loss of learning among children at all levels is huge. Second, learning happens only when the teacher is present along with the children. Hence, all efforts should be made to bring teachers and children together for as long as possible. Third, the syllabus will have to be reconfigured to include the core concepts of a previous year or two. It will be pointless to begin with a syllabus pertaining to a specific grade, for it is important that various state education departments use their funds to create study material for foundational literacy and numeracy and for core concepts in higher classes. The appropriate material should include handout for teachers and facilitators as well as lots of self-study material for children that can be picked up from schools even if school is shut or if child is in quarantine. Finally, continuous and comprehensive assessment should be encouraged and teachers given the flexibility to carry these out in order to understand what the children have grasped so far and where the gap are. Question number 8. Is there a need to reform assessment patterns? Answer. Assessment reform is the need of the hour. The standardized board exams serve no purpose and are based on regressive idea of tagging children as pass or fail. Assessment had to be constructive with feedback for improvement built into them. A far more useful exercise is teacher led and classroom based assessment, which helps teachers as well as children. It is unfortunate that education departments are spending energy trying to figure out how to conduct board exams. The school leaving certificate should not be based on on one time exam as it is not an elimination exercise. With two consecutive years of no board exam, now is the time to usher in much needed assessment reforms. It will not only reduce the stress on children but also help take the education system away from the teach to test mode. It will not only reduce the stress on children but also help take the education system away from the teach to test mode.